to another video. I will be doing a book haul with y'all because I just bought 7 books, which is a decent amount. And I'm gonna go through them with you, tell you guys kind of the gist of them, maybe some of the tropes and stuff. Obviously, I haven't read any of these books that I've gotten, and a handful of them were recommended to me. And just a heads up for people, I like going into books not really knowing the plot. I like being surprised. Not that I don't know the content of the book. I'm very thorough, or try to be very thorough on my research on what the content is of the book because of me being particular on what I read. So I do try and stay away from spoilers. I don't like spoilers at all. And I try not to read too much information about the book so I don't get the plot spoiled for me. So the first book I'd like to talk about is Grumpy Darling by Alexandria Moody. This book is the second book in the Darling Devil series. The first book is Rival Darling. I don't think I actually read this book on this channel. I read this before I started my channel. These are both clean YA hockey romances. So if you're like me who kind of found out that there was a big hockey romance trend, I didn't know that was a thing, but majority of them are not the most appropriate. Here's some clean ones for you. This is the first one. This follows Reed and Violet. Reed has 3 brothers, a twin named Grayson, a younger brother that I cannot remember the name of, and a sister who I also cannot remember the name of. I'm sure I will remember that later. And then 2 great parents. They have a dog. It's so cute. And then Violet, I'm pretty positive. Again, I read this like a couple months ago. I can't exactly remember the plot. I'm pretty sure she's living with her dad. I know that. I don't remember if her mom died or they're divorced. That's probably not a good thing. I'm pretty positive she lives with her dad though. And this one basically is a fake dating trope. And there is miscommunication in this book. Not that that should deter you. It's a great book. I gave it 4 stars. It would have gotten 5 if there was no miscommunication in it. I have a love-hate relationship with the miscommunication trope because it gets me annoyed, but especially when it's done, like, why? Sometimes I'm like, character, are you stupid? Because you shouldn't have believed this. That's how I felt about the miscommunication in this book. And then this one follows Reed's twin brother Grayson and Paige, who is Grayson's childhood best friend, who Paige has been around the Darling family all the time. They're really close friends. So this is childhood friends to lovers, which is awesome. Which is actually really awesome. I'm reading the back of this and I cannot believe that. So yeah, this one follows them and their relationship. So you actually meet these 2 in this book. And I kind of already knew that they would be the next before, because this book just came out. It came out, I think, at either the beginning of this month or end of last month. I can't remember. I think it was beginning of this month. And I kind of already guessed that it was going to be these 2 just because they were kind of set up as being the next 2 in this one. So now I have the 2, and they're so aesthetically pleasing. Like, I love the look of these. By the way, this one is on Kindle Unlimited, which is how I read it the first time, and then I bought it physically because, one, I probably need more romance on my shelf, because I kid you not, from this book to this book are the only just romances I have. So I need more romance on my shelf, which will lead to at least 2 other books that I bought. But yeah, so if you want to check this one out, it is on Kindle Unlimited. This is not sponsored, by the way. Just letting you know that you could read this on Kindle Unlimited if you wanted to. This one is not. That's why I bought it physically, because I'm impatient and couldn't wait until it was on Kindle Unlimited, if it ever will be. So, there's that one. And then I'm just going to go through the romances, and then I'll do the other one. So I got Float by Kate Marchant. This was actually recommended to me by Lillian Kay. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I am so sorry. And she said it was clean and a really cute book. She loved it. I think there's a video on her channel of her reading this. I think she buddy read this with some of her other booktube friends. So go check that out. I haven't watched it because I don't like watching reading vlogs of books that I'm planning on reading, because then I don't want to get like spoilers. Not saying that her video is not spoiler free. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna watch it after I read the book. So this is about a girl named Waverly. She is caught in the middle of her parents' divorce. Again, I'm kind of reading this because I don't exactly know the plot. And she gets sent to Florida for the summer to stay with her aunt. And then she meets a cute boy, and he is nice to her, welcomes her into his circle of friends, and but every summer must come to an end, and letting go is hardest when you finally found where you belong. Ooh, this also says Wattpad books. I don't really know what that means. So, there's that. So I think this will be pretty interesting. I don't know what pad means. I don't know. But anyways, next is a book that's actually been on my TBR for a minute because of Haley Pham. She loved this book. I think she gave it 5 stars, if I recall correctly. It's The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Oh, yeah. There, jeez, I had hair in my mouth and it's bothering me. She wrote The Dead Romantics, which I haven't heard about that one, but I've heard about a novel love story, or a novel story. I think it's a novel love story where she does a lot of magical realism. Let me just say that. Where, if you don't know what magical realism is, it's basically when something does something, when a thing or a place or a person, I don't want to say person, a thing or a place does something that's like magical or fantasy-esque, but it's just how it is. Like, it's not in a fantasy world. There's no actual magical reason for it. It just happens. So I think in a novel love story, the main character of that one, gets sucked into her favorite book world, and she's like in this world of like the book that she loves, and that just happens. There's no explanation for why it happens. It just happens. That kind of reminds me a little bit of The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, because this one, the girl's reliving the same day over and over again, and it's never explained why. It just happens, and you just have to accept it. So I don't know if this would be considered a magical realism. I can kind of consider it that way, but, you let me know. So this one, I think, is about Clementine. Oh, that's such a cute name. No one really uses that name anymore. That's a cute name. Who inherits her beloved aunt's apartment and finds a strange guy in it with a southern drawl. Okay. Oh, wow. So her apartment, or her aunt's apartment, travels back in time 7 years. So she's from 7 years in the future. This guy is from 7 years in the past. So either, like, they're not the ones time traveling. I don't know are they the ones time traveling? I cannot wait to know what the magical realism of this. Are they time traveling, or is the apartment time traveling? Anyways, that's that book. Again, Haley Pham loved it, so I decided, and she said it was clean, pretty appropriate. I don't know if it's YA or not, but pretty appropriate. I think it is. I know I checked this at some point, but it's been on my TBR for so long, I don't know. Now on to the 3 fantasies that I bought. If you know me, 3 fantasies is probably actually a small amount for me, considering how many fantasies I have on my want to buy list. But we're going to start with, again, recommendations from Haley Pham, because I love her and she's amazing. Shout out to her. Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. So I got it's a duology. It's by Mary E. Pearson. Also, she said it was clean, pretty appropriate. I think there's probably a little bit of language in here. Also, I've just looked at this. There is a Stephanie Garber review on the back of this. And Stephanie Garber wrote the Caraval trilogy and the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. And I love the Caraval trilogy. I've only read one book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart. That's a conversation for another video. And I'm pretty sure this is about I think it's enemies to lovers. I don't know if it's a romantasy or a romance, or a fantasy with romance. I think it might be a romantasy, though. Again, this has been on my TBR for so long, I can't exactly remember. I think it follows, it's almost Romeo and Juliet coded, I think, from what I've read on the back of this. I think the romance is between a outlawed leader and a reformed thief. I think it is almost Romeo and Juliet. 'Cause I think maybe it's warring families, or maybe there is a war of families going on. I don't know if both characters are from opposite. Well, I'm assuming they're from opposite families, or maybe the thief's not from any family, and there's a war between families that the thief gets wrapped up in. I don't know. I'm pretty sure the thief's the girl, the outlaw leader is the guy. So I don't know. But yes, it is a duology. So we have two here. I don't really. Oh, she wrote The Kiss of Deception. I've also heard that's a good book too. By the way, I'm pretty positive these are YA. Huh. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm not going to read the back of Vow of Thieves just because that may spoil Dance of Thieves. So, there's that for you. I'm actually really excited for these. These are also gorgeous books. Like, they're going to look so great on my shelf. If you haven't noticed, I buy a lot of paperbacks. I'm a paperback girl. I'm not a huge hardback fan. So, as I say, the next book's a hardback. But just, I buy a lot of paperbacks. So this book that I'm about to show you, I don't know if this is a deep cut or not, because I feel as it's very niche. Anytime I talk about something like this, I feel it's very niche, but probably not. There's probably a huge fandom. I think I've said before, I've read Disney retellings before. I've read at least two. They're both Twisted Tales by Liz Braswell. Once Upon a Dream and As Old as Time. So I've gotten kind of into that recently. So this month, the month of June, I will be reading another Disney retelling of Pinocchio, but it's gender swapped and in steampunk times. Truth Beyond the Lies, I think is what it's called, by Kathleen Bird. I will be reading that at some point. So when I found out this book existed, this kind of was my childhood. If you ever grew up watching Tinkerbell, you will understand why this is such a big deal to me. Because there's one movie in particular that this book does something with. This book takes place before that movie does. It's the winged one, like the twin, when Tinkerbell finds out she has like a almost like twin that's in the winter place, and they cross back and forth and whatever. Then you meet the character, like the winter fairies, and then you have like obviously the spring and nature and summer fairies over here and the fall fairies, and then the winter ones are on there. So this book called Wings of Starlight by Alison Soft, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, follows the queen from the Tinkerbell movies. I don't remember her name. I didn't even know if she had a name. I think she does. Yeah, Clarion? I don't really know. Before she became a queen, before she was the queen of Pixie Hollow, she was a young fairy who had to choose between duty and her heart. So I know, this story follows how our queen here, I don't know how to pronounce her name, meets Mallory, this guy on the back. Because in that movie, I cannot remember what it's called for the life of me. It's something Wings. I know there's Wings, or Wings something. It honestly was my childhood. I loved that movie so much. Basically, they had a connection in that movie that wasn't explained in that movie. And someone wrote a book about it. And, I cannot wait. Because I know it's almost like forbidden. I'm assuming it's kind of forbidden because of what I know from that movie about the winter fairies and the every other season fairies. That they can't cross over because, their wings freeze over. The warm weather fairies, their wings freeze over. Or for the winter fairies, they start like getting really hot and and weakening because it's not their season. I don't know. Again, I need to rewatch that movie before I read this, just to refresh my brain on how that stuff works. But I got so excited when I don't even know how I found this. Either it was a YouTube short or Pinterest. I cannot remember. But I'm super excited about this due to the fact because I did rewatch them when I was like a preteen. So I loved Tinkerbell when I was a child, and then I became a preteen and I rewatched them. Still love them. They're nostalgic for me. But I noticed that there was some, like, a connection between the two leaders of the Queen and then Mallory. I don't remember her name. Maybe her name will be pronounced in those, and I'll be able to learn how to pronounce it. And I wanted to know, I was like, there's a backstory there. Especially due to the fact that Mallory was very heavily against the fairies crossing over. And that there was a whole lore dropped there that something happened between these two characters, but it wasn't fully explained. Like, there was a lore, again, I need to rewatch this movie, but there's a bunch of lore dropped that as a preteen, I couldn't fully understand. So I'm so glad that they wrote a book about it, because I cannot wait to read it and eat it up. And rewatch that movie before I read it, because I need a refresher of that movie. And then my one and only sci-fi book that I have bought recently, which, for all you Brandon Sanderson, or Brandon Sanderson, however you pronounce it, fans, I'm diving into his world, starting with Skyward. I don't know if there's, like, a specific way you should dive into his world, because Brandon Sanderson, I'm going to say Sanderson, because it just makes more sense. He's written fantasy and he's written sci-fi. This is his sci-fi series, Skyward. I think it's one of his, I know he's written probably multiple. One of his fantasy series, I'm pretty sure, is called Mistborn. And I'm sure there are others. And then he wrote Choice of the Emerald Sea as, like, a secret novel for his wife. And he ended up actually publishing it. I found out about that one. Which is also, that's actually on my TBR as well. But I've been wanting to get into more sci-fi, as that is my least read genre. Over my course of my entire life, I've barely picked up a sci-fi book. So I thought I'd dive into some Brandon Sanderson. He's been recommended to me multiple times, whether it was Mistborn or Skyward or some other book of his. I wanted to, I was like, as much as I'd love to dive into his fantasy world, I'm going to dive into his sci-fi first. So there's this one. I'm pretty sure this is also YA. Did I tell you? Oh, this is YA. It's kids. It's about fairies. It's kids. It's Disney. It's YA, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's, like, considered a romance or not. Also, this cover is gorgeous, by the way. Just letting you know, I don't think I told you guys the age rating for that one. I'm pretty sure this is YA, and it's about a girl named Spensa, whose dream is to be a pilot. So this is almost a little dystopian, too, because it says the world's been under attack for decades, and pilots are the heroes of what's left of the human race. And apparently her dad did something which has hindered Spensa's chance at attending flight school. And then she discovers something in a long-time cavern that just would provide her a way to claim the stars. That's what the last bit of it says. Who's Patrick Rothfuss? No, I've never heard of that guy. The name of I'm reading reviews on the back. And there's a sequel. Like, this is a series. I don't know if it's I think it is more than 3 books. I'm pretty sure it's, like, a full-on series. I'm looking at the reviews. Nope. No authors that I know. But again, I don't read a lot of sci-fi. So, there we go. That's all 7 books. By the way, I got them all off of Amazon. And they totaled up to being $60 in total, which is about $8 a book, which isn't that bad. That's about average on books, I feel like. Although I did get a handful of random discounts, because I bought some of the books as they were discounted, and then there's the whole save 50% if you buy one of 2 items, and these were part of that. And I think also, I don't think this one was, but I know another one. I think it might have been this one or this one, or both. All 4 of these could have all been like that. But yeah, I'm so excited. Now I gotta add them to my shelf. Where's my my sci-fi is down here, and then romance is right here, and then fantasy. Depending on the fantasy, I think I got all high fantasies, so those are all gonna go around this area, because that's my high fantasy. My low fantasy is here with Harry Potter and Percy Jackson. I actually come to think of it, I think that's the only low fantasies I own, other than Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is a niche thing for me here. I'm about to say, I think and Strange Worlds Travel Agency. Every other low fantasy I own is Harry Potter or Percy Jackson. You could tell that and then all my high fantasies are this stuff. So, yeah, I'm very much excited to dive into these books. If you want to know the one I'm most excited to dive into, if it's not obvious, I raved about it probably the longest. Oh, I'm so excited. I want to read this book so bad. Hey, I'm mood reading next month. This book is probably going to be on there. Because I haven't read a Disney retelling. I mean, this is before I've read my next Disney retelling in a long time. So I'm very excited for all of these books. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye!